We're here today to talk about MunEEBucks. MunEEBucks, we often refer to it as a rebate program in a box. And so what does that mean? Well, it's a managed energy efficiency program. And this is something that we've developed with John Van Harz, JVH, who does the technical back-end work, does all the heavy lifting really. So he's on the call as well. And this will be kind of a tag team presentation between me and John. And forgive me, I just had a call come in on my phone. I'm gonna silence that. Let's see here. Oh. So first slide, what is MunEEBucks? Like I said before, MunEEBucks is a managed energy efficiency program available to IAMU members. It's built specific for our members. We have an existing program it's fit for members who have an existing program that needs refreshing and annual review. Basically, towards the end of each year, me and John get together and we look at the TRM. We look at what other IOUs, investor-owned utilities in the state and outside of the state are offering in terms of rebates. And then we begin to formulate what a rebate level would look like and make sense for our members. So it's also fit for our members who have an existing program and are maybe already have some of these things in place, maybe have an online portal or have a way that they collect rebates, but it's become too much work to manage that program. And maybe you're looking for sort of a low touch outsource administration of the program. That's where we come in. We offer essentially program admin for all of the rebates for your municipal utility. And it's also fit for members who want to instantly introduce a new up-to-date efficiency program. Like I mentioned before, if you're a municipal utility and you have no rebates right now, this is a very easy way to take what we've already developed, spent all of the hard time and work in developing rebates that make sense, and just plug that into your utility. So some more things about MunEEBucks elements. Info on portfolio design. All programs are configured based on the Iowa State Technical Resource Manual. That's the TRM. If you're not familiar with the TRM, it's sort of like agreed upon calculations and savings methodologies, and also expected useful lives for different rebate measures. Rebate values are compared to other local utilities, like we mentioned, and we review the portfolio, the rebates that we offer every year. And sometimes, even including this year, we'll review them midway through the year to make sure that they make sense. If we get some feedback, hey, this rebate's too high, or we're not seeing enough participation in this rebate category, can we increase the incentive? Those are changes that we'll commonly make as well throughout the year. Another big part of the MunEEBucks system is the intake portal. So when we talk about the portal, we essentially mean online rebate form submission. So basically, we can insert a portal onto your website. We include a link to sort of the back-end tools and software that John has developed. And once the customer gets to the rebate portal, which is a different site, we try really hard to brand that portal in a way that makes it cohesive with your site's existing branding. So we'll have your utility name, your logo, color scheme if needed, that sort of thing. When you click on these links, it's almost unnoticeable when you go to that next site. And then there's all the admin stuff that we do as well. So it's the technology, the software, the website, the system. It's processing these rebates. So not only receiving them, staying on top of rebates coming in. Making sure that if it's a new cooling unit, That is the efficiency that it says that it is. So that would be the SEER rating. And also making sure that it's AHRI certified. You know, if it's lights, it's either Energy Star or DLC. So we look at those qualified product lists or QPLs, make sure that the products are listed. It's the administration. So if a customer sends in a rebate that doesn't quite make sense or doesn't hit your efficiency values, we can kind of bounce that back to the customer through an automated system or give that info to you if you desire. And then it's also reporting. So if you're a participant in MunEEBucks, it definitely makes the EIA 861 stuff, which we all are going through now, makes that a little bit easier. And you know, with all these things, the final say on whether or not a rebate gets processed always comes back to you. So we're not encroaching on you know, your power to make decisions, to approve or deny rebates. We just handle all that heavy legwork in the beginning. And so now that you guys know a little bit about MunEEBucks, I, at this point, I'm going to kick it over to Aaron Girdman. Aaron is with the utility at Osage here in Iowa. And Aaron has been a standard participant a while. They use MunEEBucks. They receive the monthly, you know, rebate closing reports. And Aaron, maybe you could just speak a little bit to MunEEBucks, how it works for you, how you guys have used it, and you know, kind of just your overall impression of it there.
Yeah, that sounds great. So I think we were in like the trial phase when you guys first came out with it. And our rebate program was kind of a little overwhelming just because we were doing a lot more. We were doing a lot of lighting. And when it came to the EIA 861, that got to be a lot to see like what bulbs replaced, wattages, and all that stuff. So it took a lot of time. So when we switched over to MunEEBucks, all of that was taken care of for us. We got to customize. We got to see what other utilities were offering for rebates, which was kind of nice. We get the closing report every month, and then we just put our credit onto our customers' accounts. The EI 861 is so much easier now. We also got marketing. You're laughing because you have to do the hard work part of it, but the marketing aspect of it, we got all of that. You know, we just put our logo on there. It's super easy for our customers. They just go to our website, put in all the information. If they don't have the information, you guys send them an email or deny it. Or what's nice is you usually let me know as well so I can get back to the customer. We've just been really impressed, and it's been really easy for us.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much, Aaron, for talking about your experience with MunEEBucks. Really appreciate that. You know, and like Aaron said, you know, one of our big goals is just to make it easier for you guys, the people who run these utilities and are tasked with the responsibility of managing a program. Just make it easier. Handle all of the admin stuff and make, you know, providing your residents with rebates more accessible to more communities. Great. Thank you again, Aaron. I appreciate it. So I don't know if I see anyone else who's a standard participant, but if you are on the call right now and you are an existing standard participant, you're very welcome to unmute and speak up. I'll give you a few seconds here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move on. If you are a standard participant on the call that want to talk about MunEEBucks, go ahead and drop that in the chat and we'll come back to you. So I'm going to go back into our presentation here. Okay. Yeah, so let's go into kind of a little bit about how IAMU is paying for this, you know, what the costs are, that sort of thing. So basically, John has created this really awesome piece of technology this back end for the online rebate portals. You know, and it's kind of a shared environment between all of our members. And so right now, IAMU does offer MunEEBucks for free to our members. And we have committed to continue offering it for free for this year and next year. And my hope is that it will continue to be free for our members into the future. But there is a pretty high cost to run and operate the system. And essentially IAMU's board right now we've seen MunEEBucks as being so valuable to our members that we are totally okay with cutting that cost for now. So some more information, you know, we applied the Iowa TRM to the underlying portfolio design. You know, the TRM is a free resource that's publicly available. It is hard to find sometimes, especially when you're looking for the most updated version, but it is out there for free. And so that saves us some costs because we don't have to go to these big wig engineering firms to, you know, design our calculations and agree upon, hey, what's the best calculator for this measure? That work has already been done. So we get some cost savings there, and it also allows everyone in the state of Iowa to be on the same page when it comes to calculations. So we're all comparing things apples to apples. And just more about MunEEBucks, it's a shared platform and infrastructure. Dramatically lowers the cost of entry and cost to participate. If you're an IAMU member, that cost is free. I know there are also some other people from joint action agencies and different co-ops throughout the state on this call. And who will be watching the recording later on. The cost for you folks, definitely reach out to us on cost, but it is very low. IAMU is covering the majority of the cost there. So again, low barrier to entry. It's a centralized system for program administration and rebate application administration. Singular process flow for the review and validation. And it's incredibly secure. So, you know, when your customers are submitting these rebate forms, you know, they're submitting their address, phone numbers, emails. We want that information to be secure. John does a really good job with security on the site. We don't have any worries in that area. Another cool feature of MunEEBucks is that it's tailored for a member. We like to say that MunEEBucks is configurable but not customizable. MunEEBucks, there is another tier of user. If you want to have a really customized portfolio. Currently, we have one IAMU member, one of our bigger members, who is into that tier where they've run a completely customized portfolio. Bunch of different things outside of the scope of MunEEBucks, and they actually still administer their program on their side. So basically, if you have a use case for MunEEBucks that's highly customized, or you want to do some unconventional things with rebates or time of use, you know, sort of things, we can do that. MunEEBucks can be applied to electric only, gas only, and dual fuel utilities. So if you're an electric gas municipal, you know, if you're only gas and want to offer rebates for furnaces, natural gas water heaters, that sort of thing, we can do that. If you want to have a huge portfolio for pretty much every measure you could think of, we can do that as well. So another thing, this is kind of dives into the configurability of MunEEBucks. Basically, when we go through the process of developing your portal, you can choose to offer as many or as few programs and rebates as you wish. So we have our recommended rebate levels and recommended, you know, line items, rebates for projects kind of laid out, but it's more of a menu than a prescription. You can kind of pick and choose what's right for you and right for your utility. And if you're replacing an existing program and want things to be similar, you know, we can make that work as well. So to dive further into that, you can choose your override. You may choose to override the MunEEBucks rebate values with your own values. And the other thing I would say about MunEEBucks is it's not it's not just for energy efficiency. You know, we've done programs where utilities have included other rebates, you know, for things like EV chargers, PV solar, heat pumps, community solar, lots of different things there. And so here is a slide on MunEEBuck's performance. There is a bunch of data, but this is kind of what a MunEEBuck's dashboard can look like for us when we're tracking rebates, seeing how much participation that we have. It really is slick. I really appreciate it. Right now, MunEEBucks, I believe we have 10 standard members and 1 custom member with between 2 and 3 people who are at different stages of getting integrated into the program. So we're developing their portal, you know, interfacing with different city boards, you know, just making sure that the rebates that they get are the rebates that they want. You know, we're trying to grow that membership base, and that's kind of what this webinar is about today. Basically, the more members IAMU can have be participants in MunEEBucks, the more we can justify the cost to develop all the great tech that John has made and to pay for the administration of the program as well. So at this point, I actually am go ahead and kick it over to John. I'm going to exit out of this, stop sharing. And John, I believe it is all yours, sir. And John, you are actually muted right now.
I should not be muted now.
All right, so there you go.
I appreciate it. Everybody, can you see my screen as well, Jeff? Okay, sounds good. Thanks so much. Do appreciate the kind words by Aaron. Yes, I think Osage was I think Tipton was #1. I think Osage was right there after, and Osage is also, I would characterize a pretty progressive utility, so they helped us quite a bit early on, and you know, since that time, you know, we've grown and look forward to growing some more. You know, for whatever your motivations are, you know, maybe it's a member services issue, maybe it's a matter of wanting to reduce your power bill, maybe it's a combination of both, or maybe you know, if you're an electric utility, you're trying to, you know, expand your load through EV chargers and things of that nature. All these things we certainly can help out with, and we can do so in a very simple, quick, cost-effective, low-touch manner. I think that's the key thing. It's not necessarily your core business per se, and so if it's it would be a service offering that would fit for having a partner to help you take care of. So at this point in the presentation, we're going to talk a little we're going to talk about the portfolio, and then I'm going to show you some portals and then some other roadmap stuff and other capability stuff. But as I look at it, you know, that performance, let me just get that back over here where Jeff was at on this. This is MunEEBucks to date. So I can't quite remember the launch date, but we had a pilot period and it was mid-year and whatnot. But I think you can see that over the course of period to date that we've saved a lot of energy, we've reduced a lot of peak, and we've had a lot of positive carbon impact too, if that's also a motivation that you have there at your utility. The portfolio, so there are there's over 40 different programs in here, and there's, I think, maybe close to or exceeding 100 different items. This being the difference between a program and an item. You know, here's appliances, for example, and you have different style appliances, or air conditioners, you have different SEER air conditioners. The portfolio is based upon the Iowa Technical Resource Manual, which is an awesome resource for all of us. It basically means that Mid-American and Alliant have paid a designer outside of the state to develop all this stuff so that you don't have to pay a designer, we don't have to pay a designer. Now, what we do need to do is we need to take these documents and actually turn them into something that's useful. But it's refreshed annually, and so it's really a fabulous resource for us. Again, as a utility, you can choose which of these that you want to offer. Okay, so if you were a gas utility, you'd never offer a rebate on electric appliances, and vice versa. These maintenance rebates are not necessarily all that popular. Osage has one, but they're not all that popular. So you may want to not offer that particular program. But there's residential and there's non-residential programs. There are programs for appliances, for water heating, for space heating and space cooling, for building shell, for lighting, LED lighting. And then also we get down in here into EV chargers and whatnot, and then we move into the non-residential stuff. Just so that you know, Jeff in particular and I, we also have some experience with custom rebate applications. So this would be like the school district called you and they wanted to do a big retrofit or something like that. What you see here are prescriptive programs, but if you had a custom program, we also have all the underlying data for those, and we can help you to determine, based upon that statement of work, how much energy that's going to save, and also how much we think that you ought to offer a rebate value based upon that. So kind of back here to air conditioners, this is not an uncommon one. We have 5 tiers of air conditioners, and here's your kWh annual energy savings, your peak kW saved, and then your measure life for that, okay? Those all come from the state manual. It's the only thing, by the way, that's static to the system. I'll talk about these rebates in a second. So that, those elements every event will have the same impact. And we think that's important because it's what the state supports. The rebate values are, some of that comes from the TRM, but by and large, what we do is we look and see what Mid-American, Alliant, and Black Hills are doing, as well as, some of the big co-op networks, and we try to have parity there, okay? Yes, there are rebate overrides. So if you have a rebate value of your own, then we can institute an override for you for that particular item. The only downside to the override is when we do the annual review, we just look at the master portfolio. We don't look at each one of your overrides. So you have to remind us if you want to change that at some point. I think where I've experienced the overrides, frankly, to come in most often is when a municipality has already gone to their city council and said, this is what I want to do. And they just don't want to go back to the city council until January 1st of the following year. Okay, so nonetheless, you have the ability to get that granular down there. Now, in terms of the portal, I'm going to show you one here. So this would be a portal, and Jeff is right that you can present this on your website. You can also present it in the front office with a kiosk experience for walk-ins, or alternatively, you at the office, you can enter yourself. If someone mails something in or what have you. But it's a single intake portal for any one of those particular methods. Okay. The customer entry in the kiosk experience it's kind of an interesting time for that because for a long time, a lot of utilities, just from a member services standpoint, they prefer not to offer customer entry. But now in our sort of COVID type years here, there certainly is some consumers who don't want to go into the office. They want to do things remotely, but there's also been, I've experienced some operational responses by certain utilities to say, hey, we're getting out of paper. We don't want to have people passing paper and that human interaction. And so these sort of public entry alternatives, and it is alternative. Again, you can do it yourself. You know, that's where this kind of comes into play. This is a portal, but it wouldn't be a real one because it's under the IAMU account. But you can get an idea for your utility. You'd have your own presentation, your own logo, your name, all the different programs that you chose to offer. And only those that you chose to offer, and then any sort of text that you might want, either as a lead-in text or alternatively as terms and conditions on each form. Okay, so let me go ahead and click on this air conditioner. So you might say on your website, you might say, hey, to file a rebate, click here and go to this program listing. Or alternatively, you could give some information on your central air conditioner program and say, to apply online, click here, and you can send them right into the first page of each individual application. This is a wizard style portal, so it's very consumer friendly. It's broken down into sections. That's key from an internet standpoint. You know, a non-recurring visitor like a consumer desires a different experience than a recurring visitor like somebody that's using an accounting system, okay? This is step one, which is the recipient address. All the terms and conditions are down here. So when we first create a portal, we'll put our boilerplate terms and conditions in there, but you may come back and say, hey, listen, can you edit this and change this and whatnot, okay? And that's how that's taken care of. I'll just type in some stuff so you can see some interior pages here. The next step is the installation address, because I'm sure that you want to grant, if you remit by checks, you want to grant the alternative for that particular recipient to have that check sent to a different address. But when it comes to the installation address, you can just click on here and it imports that those answers from the previous page. They don't have to type all that again. Third step is where they tell the system what it is that they bought and installed. So in this case, this is a central air conditioner. Installation date, these are rules that we set up. Serial number, AHRI number, and then SEER. And for now, for SEER, I'm going to enter 14. But basically, the installation date is, you know, based upon typically program years, but we just typically extend them. But anyway, that's the purpose of it. Like if you wanted to say, for example, you needed to have this application in within 90 days of the installation date, you would have that recorded in here. The AHRI number, this is a good point. Well, let me get to that on some next slides, and that has to do with our validation of the equipment details. But we do also have a rule in here for the operator. So I mentioned earlier that for the air conditioners, we have 5 tiers, okay? And 14 SEER is the federal minimum baseline. So normally you wouldn't incent that because that's the only thing somebody can buy. So if they enter 14 SEER, they're not able to click on any of these. But let's say they entered 16 SEER, they can click on the 15 and the 16, but they can't click on the 17 or 18. Okay, so we're doing some data entry validation here to improve their experience. I'll click on 16, and then we get into the evidence documentation. Okay, and if they tried to skip that, it's required. They can't skip it. This is a drag and drop. They would just go here, you know, and pull in their invoice. And then it's got an indicator that shows that it's been attached to this particular record. And then they go to the last page, which is where they enter comments. Okay, it doesn't happen very often, but occasionally we'll see comments when they come to us. You submit it, you complete it, goes in, it comes to our dashboard for us to work on. So it's really that simple. They are able to look up the status, so I'm not going to do this, but they can come back here and enter their last name and their email and their zip code, and it'll get a return, and the answer to them will be whatever stage it is in our workflow. If it's new and we haven't even done anything on it, it'll say new. If we have approved it and passed it to you, it'll say validated, I think is the word that we use. But they can do a status lookup there. And then we can create a support page here too. These are typically sentences, but we can include that information in there as well, okay? Now, back to the PowerPoint. Any questions yet? Pipe in. It's a good time while I go through this.
Yep.
Okay.
You guys can always drop questions in the chat too, and we'll answer them at stopping points.
Okay, so it's not only the program design and it's not only the intake portal. There's also a services wrapper here where we review and approve and we get it near but not to the end, okay? So each application comes to us, it comes on a task table, somebody here is assigned to that. The installation location is pinned to a Google map. So typically we can tell it's your customer because you're a municipal utility, but that's imperfect. But we do take a look at the Google map to make sure that it's in or near your community. We have come across some that are not, honestly, but that's the first thing that we do. Then the next thing that we do is we move down into the equipment details. Okay, so the example I used was the air conditioner, and what we do there is we ask the customer to provide, or the contractor who provides it to the customer, what is known as the AHRI number. Most of you probably know what that is, but for space heating and cooling and for water heating, that is the energy efficiency certification body. So each of those pieces of equipment has its own unique number. We take that number, we stick it into the directory, and we can see, okay, well, they said it was a 16 SEER. Does the industry rate that as a 16 SEER? So we take a look at that. And then that directory also gives us the manufacturer name and model number, so we can review that invoice as a file attachment in that window and compare we can verify that the manufacturer name and model number basically in there. So we don't need to ask the customer to tell us that. Now we have some different things for different types of equipment. For appliances, now, water tanks, by the way, are also AHRI rated. Now, some programs will have, it has to be Energy Star certified. Most, it's basically an energy factor. So we have some capabilities there. But appliances are always Energy Star labeled. So we're asking the claimer, the requester, to not only provide their proof of purchase, but also a photo of their yellow energy guide. And if that yellow energy guide has the Energy Star label down in the bottom right corner, then that means that it's Energy Star certified. And oh, by the way, it also has the manufacturer name and model just above that, okay? Lighting is a little more nebulous. It gets a little more difficult. Sometimes we have to use Google for that, honestly. But what the point being is that in addition to verifying the location, we're also verifying some of the equipment details, okay? When we're looking at that file attachment, we also take a look at the invoice to make sure that it's not something that was provided for free or anything of that nature, okay? We ran into a situation not long ago with some lighting fixtures where I thought it was somewhat debatable as to whether or not it was a bulb or a fixture. And the rebate request was fairly high because of that. I shared it with Jeff, who knows, I kind of know a lot about heating and cooling. He kind of knows a lot about lighting. He said, no, John, this definitely is a fixture. However, the rebate request exceeded a policy that we had in the terms and conditions that it could not be more than 50%. So we were able to edit that rebate application record and bring those values back down to satisfy that policy and approve it rather than having to deny it, okay? Now, it does bring up a good point we do get a few a month that we have to return. You know, they don't meet the minimum requirements or they're duplicates, something of that nature. And we do have, as Aaron mentioned earlier, we do have denial email template set up that we can edit to provide denial reasons. So for example, we can say, hey, I don't see that your AHRI number is a match. Perhaps it's just a mistake. Can you call your salesperson, clarify that and resubmit? Okay, so we're pretty good about that. Important thing is here on the last point is we consider that we have taken these requests through to a point of being validated, but not necessarily finally approved, okay? So perhaps it's not your customer, even if it's in your community. We wouldn't really be able to know that. That's only come up once. But you may have other policies, like maybe that customer's behind on their bill, or you've or you have run out of money or something else. So we grant you the opportunity to give a last look, okay, before you pay out. Once a month, at the end of this month, or excuse me, early the following month, you get a report that looks something like this. This is just a screen grab of one, but we will say this is everything that has come in during this period where we have completed our review and approve administration. So you can take your last look and you can pay out. It has all the detail you need and it's organized appropriately, okay? I'm gonna actually skip over this because all of you folks are working very closely with Jeff on this, but obviously one benefit of having this centralized database is that we not only have all the financial information in there, but we have all the energy impact information, and you have different reasons for that, EIA, 861 management reports, maybe grants, all those kinds of things. So we have all this data in here. It's an ad hoc data extract. And at that point, you can do with it whatever you need to do. And we can build custom reports. Those cost money, but the data is all there in one place and is available all the time at any time. Okay, I just wanted to talk about some alternative models. So I don't know that any of this would apply to you. So I think everything that we've presented to you right now is what we want you to think about. We just want you to say, hey, I'd like to take a look at this. Can you develop a portal for me to just kind of look at, share with my colleagues, click on it. I'll give you some feedback of what changes that I need or those types. That would be the next step for you, is to send Jeff an email and say, hey, give me a look. I'm not sure, or I am sure, but give me something to work with here so that we can take that to a final version and release it. But there is some alternative models here. We have one utility who is not quite yet moving forward with us, but they actually had an engineering firm design their portfolio. They did not use the TRM. So what we could do in that scenario is we set up separate program folders for that particular utility, and only those would be presented on their portal, okay? The second one is we do have a utility that has their own portfolio, and they also want to do their own review and approve rebate administration. So in that scenario, we design their own portfolio, and then we actually design their own workflows so that when those requests come in, they go to their dashboard and only their dashboard for them to be able to work, okay? And then last, and this one actually may apply to some of you folks, but we do a fair amount of business in the co-op world as well. And in the co-op world, those are typically what's called a multi-level design, where the G&T pays down to the distribution co-op, who might add their own incentive on top of that, and then they pay down to the end customer. And so in your world, maybe you are part of one of those networks, but maybe you're part of a joint action agency network, and you might have your own city-sponsored program, and there might also be a program that's sponsored by your wholesaler or your supplier. And so our system has the ability to provide that multi-tier capability for you to be able to incorporate both of those into it. So if that sounds like something that is interesting, that's most certainly something that you would want to talk with Jeff about, and something that we would want to talk to your wholesale supplier about as well. And then we have some new things that are in the pipeline that we want you to know about. One, we have a configuration that's actually released now, but and so it's not in the state of Iowa, but currently it's in some other states. But it's not only efficiency or load building strategies, but it's an efficiency strategy for home audit and weatherization, and it might be low income, or it might just be a standard program. And so we have an experience there where the requests include, customer name and address and all that stuff, but they include audit data, and they include a section on whatever direct install measures were taken, such as wrapping the water heater pipe or installing faucet aerators or recessed LED lighting, things of that nature. And then there's another section for a weatherization contractor, which would be installation and air sealing. So it's a bigger record, it's more impact, but we have that now. That particular configuration also uses our mobile app, which is important because auditors and weatherization contractors are in the field and they don't want to use paper and they prefer not to carry their computer. And so they're able to record those things using our mobile app, and then they're able to take advantage of those things that are available on the phone, namely the camera, but sometimes they might use the GPS location data or voice recognition or things like that. So we have that already, that was released right around January 1st. We're working on now, and I have to say the originator of this idea was in fact a MunEEBuck's participant, but now we have 3 utilities that are interested in an experience for professionally installed stuff, mostly heating and cooling, where in order for the customer to effectively participate in the program, the contractor kind of has to hold their hand, right? They have to make sure that they have the HRI number or whatever else. And we have, in one of those cases, one of those utilities, we not only want to we not only want the contractor to help the customer, we actually want to pay the contractor a little bit to help the customer, and we don't want to type in all the answers. So basically that experience is, let's say it's an air conditioner. That heating and cooling contractor installs that air conditioner, they go to the mobile app and they register. And they basically say, this is what I installed at the location, and so on and so forth. And that goes into the system and it creates an incentive record for that contractor incentive, if one exists. At the same time, that populates a customer rebate application form and it sends that to the customer. So they just receive it, they open it up, they click on it. They have to answer a few things, for example, if they want the check sent to a different address, and also their account number if we choose to ask them that. But basically they're accepting the terms and conditions. They're saying, hey, this is what my contractor did. They're giving you the attribution for offering that incentive, not the contractor, even though they're doing the data entry. And so that's another experience that is coming out quickly. It's in development right now. And that would lead to the third bullet point of install redemption. Some of you may have heard terms like midstream and upstream and stuff like that, and Mid-American's got a pilot they're gonna run on that. But basically that's where it's a customer rebate, but the contractor gives it to them at the point of installation, and then you fill down to the contractor. But through this registration experience, the important thing about that is that you still get credit from your customer for offering the rebate. But instead of you paying the customer, you can wait maybe at the end of the month or end of the quarter and then just pay the contractor, the sum of the amounts. Lookups, that's where we would enable primarily a contractor, but maybe you to be able to look up rebate values, pre-sale stuff, rebate values, is it certified? What are the equipment trades? Things of that nature, instead of post installs, more pre-sale experience. And then this last one is in about 2 weeks, we're going to commence building a whole new form for non-residential custom lighting. So, the lighting rebates in general are gone, because obviously the incremental cost is down and LEDs are big, but there are still events where you and your energy analyst, or maybe, a dealer or lighting contractor that you work with, might go into a school building or a factory and find a whole bunch of old incandescents that are still working. And you might be able to pre-qualify those because you can bring down the baseline of that. And so that non-residential business lighting configuration has formulas. So you'll tell the system what it is, and then that'll set the baseline. Then you tell the system what it is you want to sell and install, and it calculates what the energy savings is and what the rebate value should be. So, those are the types of things that are also becoming, part of, will be available through the MunEEBucks.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff, I'm going to pass it back to you. But I want to thank all the participants first, but then I'll pass it back to you.
Good deal. Thanks, John. Yeah, that was a really succinct and great overview of MunEEBucks. I would just piggyback one more thing, is that if you're in MunEEBucks and a customer comes to you with some wild project and you think, hey, maybe it saves energy, I'm not really sure how to calculate it, or not really sure it fits into any of our existing programs, I'll take the time to calculate the rebate. We just did one for a customer where they had it was the outdoor condenser part of a refrigeration unit, which you guys know produces a lot of heat, right? It's that side of the refrigeration cycle. And so they wanted to route that heat back into the building to do waste heat recapture. Well, how much therms does that save you? Who knows, right? Well, we were able to get some project details from the installing contractor, look at a few different TRMs, make a calculation we were confident in, despite having to assume a few things, and then presenting what the rebate would be if this were a mid-AM rebate, if this were an Alliant rebate, and then kind of what I think the rebate should be. So the stuff we're doing with custom rebates is interesting, and it's just another level of service if you participate in this program. Yes. So just wanted to open it up at this point to anyone who wanted to ask a question. I believe you unmute yourself now if you have any questions. If you'd like to remain muted, you could also throw them in the chat. Yeah. So first question I have, John, is what's the process like if it's like the middle of the year and a rebate isn't working out for us, and we want to revise it? If I were a MunEEBucks participant, how would I go about doing that?
Well, it depends on what's not working out. If you want to change the value, you can instantly change that value. If you no longer offer it, we can simply deactivate it from your portal on a single click basis. If you want to add something new, which did come up, we had, I think it was Gilmore asked about insulated doors and efficient windows, which were in the TRM, but we did not have that set up yet. So we created and published that new program for Gilmore, and I think somebody else may have adopted it or added to it at this point. So that's simply a matter of asking. Don't wait.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good feedback. I know I just answered that or asked that question, but I'll add on to the answer. Yeah, I've seen a customer request a change in a rebate, and John change it in their system and have it go live, updated all within 24 hours. So, it's not this huge cumbersome process. you know, because it's an online form submission, it's pretty easy to change. You know, I remember back in the day I was working for IAMU in the state of Iowa, and they would change the rebates mid-year. Well, we've got about 10,000 paper forms out in the field with all of our auditors and our assessors. And now you got to throw all those away and get the new out there and make sure that no customers have the old form, that sort of thing. Well, you know, with this online submission and admin system, avoid all of those issues. And it makes it so that, you know, your program can be more dynamic and respond to your members' needs.
You know, Jeff, it does remind me of one other thing, though. We had one member here who I think was on a January 1st to December 31st calendar, and they launched sometime like in May. And what they wanted to do was to get everything that they had already paid out from January 1st into, you know, whatever launch date that was, into the system. So at the end of the year, when it came to their EIA 861, it was all in one place. And so that's, you can do that too. Basically what we did there was, we didn't put all the end customer information in there, but they basically said, okay, we had, you know, 15 SEER air conditioners, and we had, you know, 20 heat pump water heaters and stuff like that. And so we created basically a one-time use custom program, and then we filed a request against those in the back end, and then we closed that out. So it made it into their database, and they really didn't have to do anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a really good antidote. Any other questions? Feel free to ask them now or drop them in the chat. Yeah, and I'll just say, you know, the job I had before this one at IAMU, I worked in private industry. We did a lot of lighting projects and compressed air work, and you know, we did work in all different states across the US, and you would go from utility to utility and see drastically different programs. You know, maybe utility A has a paper form that you have to either hand fill out or buy the expensive version of Adobe PDF or Adobe Acrobat and fill it out on the computer. You know, I've seen a lot of different rebate collection systems in my days, and I have to say that this is a really good one, especially if you're the customer filling it out, but also if you're the people processing these rebates. Makes it a lot easier. Yeah. So I'm looking at the chat here. I don't see any other questions. You know, if you have a question after this webinar, you're very welcome to email me at jgorrie@iamu.org, or go ahead and give me a call at the number listed there. I will go ahead and send everyone who has invited a recording of this webinar so that you can pass it along in your organization. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Let's go ahead and meet and you know, get you a portal going. John, do you have anything to add there?
I do not. I look forward to meeting more. I enjoy everybody I've been working with. So.
Same. Yep. Well, I appreciate everybody on the call. Thank you for joining today. Thank you to the current member who joined as well. And we'll go ahead and end it here. Appreciate all you guys and hope you have a great day. Thanks.